Hello, my Hawkeneers! Hobbs here, and I'm bringing you another guide. This guide is on dueling. I'm going to teach you guys how to duel inside of Hawken if you are a new player. And now, I know if you're a subscriber, and I know you guys are going to ask, where's the shield dueling guide? I gotta teach you regular dueling before I can teach you shield dueling. Shield dueling is just a really specific form of actual dueling. But the purpose of this video is to help give you guys new players, once you learn the basics down, this is where you learn the advanced stuff. This is where you learn to really excel, kill people, go on kill streaks like you see me doing in some of my videos. And you will be much, much better in one-on-one engagements and just in engagements in general. I will go over a lot of techniques that I try to use, what my thought process is in some certain scenarios, and mostly just what is going through my head at any given point when I'm inside of a fight. And I'm going to try to organize it best as I can, but, you know, without too much blathering on for an intro, let's just get started. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to tell you guys on the subject of dueling is just this little concept here. Act, don't react. What I mean is that when you say act and don't react, is that instead of you reacting to what your enemy is doing, you act and your enemy reacts to what you're doing. And when I say act, don't react, I mean have a battle plan. You don't need to have something complex. In fact, having something simpler is better. That way you can change the plan on the fly and be able to micromanage your enemy. That is how you win. You micromanage your enemy, they are at your mercy. If you aren't micromanaging your enemy, most likely they're going to be micromanaging you, which means you're going to be at your enemy's mercy. And if you're at your enemy's mercy, well, obviously you're at a huge disadvantage and you're going to be winning duels a lot less. Instead of just blindly charging forward or blindly rushing into a situation, or just not even rushing, just blindly walking around waiting for something to happen, someone with a plan is going to come across and ruin your day. So having a plan of attack, even if it's something simple as in, oh, I'm going to find the enemies, and when I do, I will go left, go around, and then shoot them in the back. Something as simple as that will give you the upper hand in most scenarios. And so having a plan is a very important thing. And now, I know in the heat of battle, it can be tough to have a plan, but with more and more experience under your belt, you will be able to develop plans ahead of time or on the fly as you play the game. It's just one of those things that you gotta learn with experience, but I will tell you a few handy tricks that I know, and a few handy tips that'll help you formulate a plan ahead of time inside of the middle of a fight. Now, one of the best ways to try and formulate a plan is actually something as simple as an old acronym: stop, look, and listen. Just something as simple as that, taking a second to just find out where your enemy is. You have this thing called the radar, which shows your enemies if they're moving about, and so you can use that to try and pinpoint their location, find out where they are on the map, and plan a course of attack using that information. The more information you have on your enemy, the better it is for you to plan your attack. And counterintuitive to that, stealth is also a really important thing when you're trying to formulate a plan, because the less the enemy knows about where you're going, the more of a chance that you will have to surprise them. And surprise is a very, very, very powerful tool that you will have at your disposal. And when I say stealth, I know a lot of new players have a habit of like, oh, sprinting everywhere and, you know, boosting everywhere, flying about, doing all this stuff. If you aren't seen, it's best to stay unseen. Avoid boosting, dodging, flying whenever you can. Just walk. I know it might be painfully slow, but trust me, victory goes to the slow and steady. You see me a lot of the times. I only boost if I'm trying to do a strategic retreat, or if I'm just around allies and I know I'm just trying to get around. But if I'm actually going in for an assault, I will always do it quietly. I do not want the enemies to know where I am. I will have the element of surprise on my side, and I am micromanaging my enemy at that point. They don't know where I am, I know where they are. I have the upper hand at this point. I'm making sure I get this upper hand by staying quiet, not letting them know where I am. That's how I'm able to sneak up on so many people. I just simply walk, and it's hilarious how often people just don't try to turn around every now and then to see if anyone is behind them. So, kind of just to wrap up this whole point I'm saying is that before a fight, you should always just stop and think about your engagement. You'd be amazed how well it can work at sometimes. Just simply taking a second, clearing your head, and then just planning out an attack. Things will go so much more favorably for you in most cases when you actually do that, versus when, and I'm talking about when you're versus somebody who's just, you know, flying on the seat of their pants. Most cases you will come out victorious because you actually prepared ahead of time instead of just going, herpeter, I'ma do something, I'ma shoot someone with my gun, oh no, I'm dead. It helps out a lot, and especially keeping your cool in a fight is definitely one of the better things to do, because as you know, panic and desperation was always the mother of the best ideas in the world. That's basically what I was talking about when I said act, don't react. It's just having a plan, keeping a level head so you make better choices in the middle of your fights, and you don't have to be at your enemy's mercy who has a better plan than you. Because more often than not, when you're beaten by someone, it's not because they outgunned you, it's because they outsmarted you. So, in that token, you want to be able to outsmart your enemy instead of trying to outgun him. Because when you try to outgun somebody, well, let's face it, you're not going to light mech is not going to outgun a heavy mech. It's just not going to happen. Yet, I can still beat a heavy mech and my light mech because I can outsmart them. And that's what you want to try to do in every situation. And it comes down to who fools who. War is all about deception. And yes, right there, I'm basically just quoting Sun Tzu because, hey, the art of war, it applies to this game because, let's face it, it's a war game. And yes, when I say it's all about deception, is that ultimately in the end, when you lose, it's try to think of it more as you didn't micromanage your enemy enough, more so than they did something, because blah, 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 blah. You can't control what the enemy does, but you can control what you do, and you can do your best to control what... Well, you can do your best to try and mitigate and make the battle flow how you want to, but ultimately in the end, try to keep the mindset of making sure that if you lose, it was because you did something wrong and not more that the enemy did something, because you can't really fix what your enemy does, but you can certainly fix what you do. And so, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say here is that you change your plan and micromanage your enemy to fit what they are doing. If you can tell that they're going to do certain A, then you know automatically. It's like, okay, if they're going to do A, I'm going to do B really quickly. Or if you know you're going to do A, which will make them do B, which makes you do C, it's just, you know, it's all part of the plan. It's just learning how the pieces fit. And with more experience and time, you'll learn that sometimes people will have specific patterns, and you can pick up on those patterns and really, really take advantage of it. It can just, once you learn stuff like that, knowing thy enemy, like it says in Sun Tzu, I know, I'm quoting him again, but once you know thy enemy, it can be very, very fruitful, and you will have a blast just, you know, learning to mop them up. And also on the subject of what things you should do before a fight is that flanking and stealth tactics. I'm going to also go over this a little bit more. It's like I said, stealth is basically, as long as you aren't boosting, shooting, dodging, anything like that, if you're just flat out walking, then you are stealth, no one can see you on the radar, and as long as they're not looking your direction, most people aren't really going to know you're there. So this is something that you want to keep as long as possible. Keep the element of surprise for as long as possible, because trust me, I've seen so many times where I sneak up on teams and then I get right up behind them, and as soon as I start firing and laying like my first grenade launcher into them, there's panic induced by them. You can see their crosshairs or their mech like shake around violently. You know, it's just that oh shit moment where, you know, that's what you were going for when you really want to surprise an enemy, because that will induce panic on their part and make them make sloppy decisions, and if they are making sloppy decisions, you'll already have the higher advantage. Remember, cooler heads will prevail in this game because you will make better decisions in how you are fighting. If you make your enemy make bad decisions, you've already gained the advantage, and that's what surprise does. It's panic inducing. They don't know what to do. And I've seen so many new players when they get a good flanking position, but then as soon as they see an enemy who's like maybe a mile off, they start, you know, randomly firing their Vulcan, thinking that they're going to hit them and tickle them to death. When in reality, all they did was give their position away, and then the enemy team just descends upon them like hounds. I slap my face every single time I see that. Just, you know, complete facepalm, double facepalm. It's just, I feel so bad whenever I see that, and I just desperately want to help them out, but here's me helping you guys out. Always keep stealth for as long as possible, and wait until you can actually get up close and into an optimum range. Keep your stealth for as long as possible. Do not shoot until you feel comfortable that you know you're going to do a lot of damage for your type of gun. Like, say, if you're a sniper, obviously you don't need to get as close. You can still deal quite a bit of damage and land quite a bit of shots from further away. But if you're using a Vulcan, if you're going to sneak up on somebody, you better make sure you're hugging the person's backside, and then you start shooting, because otherwise yeah, your Vulcan's not going to work from long range, and that will really make them panic. If you don't expect somebody like a little berserker with a Vulcan suddenly behind you out of nowhere, you will probably crap your pants, because I've seen so many people do that before, and it's won me so many fights before. It is just, flanking tactics are just my thing, and you guys see me do it all the time in videos. And so I'm trying to help you guys learn how to do that a lot better. Just make sure to try and stay as hidden as possible, and the only time you want to shoot if you're further away, and if your cover is blown, once your cover is blown, then, well, hey, you know, get the hell out of dodge, or you might have to start fighting back early. But as long as you still have the element of surprise, keep it for as long as possible. That's all there really is about trying to prep yourself for an engagement. I am going to do a second part of this video that's going to be about what you should actively do inside of an actual duel. And so, because I don't want to make these videos too long and too lengthy for you guys, so yeah. You're welcome. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found this first part of the guide useful. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever you would like to do if you want to see more. But yeah, as far as this part of the guide, it's pretty much that's it. It's preparing yourself for a duel in hand, and I will do much more videos, and I'll do another video about what you should do in the middle of a fight, and maybe another thing afterwards. But for now, this is Soldier Hobbs signing off, and hopefully I will see you in the second part.